welcome back to the Festival of Hope, where we are celebrating kindness this week. It has been a great week. I hope you had the opportunity at some point to watch our community member video, which was done by the lovely and dedicated and wonderful and kind Diane West, who also is the National Volunteer Manager for Soaring Spirits and a member of our leadership team for Camp Widow, and has been heading up the Widowed Village. So when I tell you that she took the extra time to be with us today for her kindness, it's in addition to all of these other kindnesses that she's doing in the background that many of us have benefited from program-wise on the Soaring Spirits end. So join me please in welcoming Diane. Diane, welcome in.
Hi, good to be here today. Can you hear me well enough? I'm sitting a little bit further back.
You sound perfect.
Okay.
And you look beautiful in your decked out Hope outfit. It's perfect.
I thought it was appropriate for Festival of Hope.
Yes, absolutely. So I want to tell you all a little bit about why I asked Diane to head up this week of kindness. I have over the years experienced Diane's brand of kindness, and I want to explain that a little bit, what I mean by that. You know, there are people who kind of do grand acts or who will do a kindness, you know, that's clear and public. And Diane is the kind of person who will quietly do something so kind for you, and then when you look over and you notice, like, oh my gosh, she just did the nicest thing for me, and then before you can even thank her, she's gone. So she has this way of just seeing people's need and being able to offer a kindness that's really specific to what's happening. So she also told me, we'll come back to that. Hold please. So let me just say, Diane, tell me a little bit about, you know, why you were inspired by kindness, because I know kindness is a word that really resonates for you.
Yes, it sure does. Well, I've been the recipient of kindnesses. You know, probably the most important one was the one that I mentioned on Tuesday's call, was those sparkles. You know, sparkles have been my thing. In fact, I even got it. You know, one of my bags that I use is sparkly. So when that happened, that it meant so much to me, especially that very first days after I lost Vern, that I just felt like I need to figure out how to do something for other people too. And it just became something that I looked for. I read about, I saw different things that other people did and adapted them to work into my life. And it really made a huge difference for me in dealing with my grief. It took me away from that physical pain and allowed me to turn around and just be thinking about somebody else. And it worked really well.
So tell me when you decided you were gonna, you know, kind of develop a kindness practice. And what I call a kindness practice is any regular thing that you do that's kind. And I know you have a couple of different things that you do. So will you tell me something about the notes that you leave and, you know, what your intention is? I know you talked a little bit about it in the video, but I want to hear how what inspired you to do some of these smaller things that are easy. And like you said, you have them right in your, you know, in your car, you have Post-it notes.
Mm-hmm. Now the Post-it notes, or, you know, there's so many different things that I guess because I'm kind of a pack rat, and I got involved in a lot of, I was involved with the Brave Girls Club. And so I think that's really where I picked up the first part of just being present, being aware of other people around me. I remember seeing a video that was done by Cleveland Clinic that just really struck me, where it was showing people walking into a hospital and they had smiles on their faces as they're walking in. And then they had the little words explaining that, you know, this mom was bringing her daughter in to say a final goodbye to her dad, or this person had just received a diagnosis, or this person had just gotten word that, you know, that they were pregnant when they've been having a really hard time getting pregnant. And it just kind of resonated with me that there's so many people out there that are dealing with things and going through things that just some tiny little bit of kindness could really make a difference for them. So I just started thinking about things. And, you know, I've got I go to the dollar store. If I see something at the dollar store, I'll grab it and say, okay, this is something I could use or leave. An old calendar. I had one of those page-a-day calendars that was pretty cool. It had all of these really neat sayings on them. So I keep some of those in my car, and you could slide them underneath somebody's windshield wiper, or sometimes I'll have tape in the car, but then I'm thinking, here in Nevada where it gets so hot, putting tape on a window, they might not appreciate that so much when they have to try to scrape it off, So a lot of times it'll go underneath the windshield wiper. So it just was something that I felt would be hopeful to somebody else, that someone that was going through something that I really might not even be aware of, but just the fact of doing it, and it made me feel good. And I have to say the anonymous ones actually feel better to me than when I've done some of the things where I've sent books from my bookshelf to people just to keep them moving. If I can do something anonymous, it really does feel good.
I love the idea of having the calendar and reusing those calendars and being able to gift messages that way. So what kind of things do you look for? I mean, so these are small things. You said you had Post-it notes, you've got calendars. I know you have other things that you leave about in interesting places. I'm curious how you came up with the idea, like grocery stores and libraries. Tell me a little bit about where you leave your notes.
Well, this was before the pandemic, of course. And I have to admit, I haven't been quite as active with doing it now, because I'm figuring, everybody's so afraid of touching things and that sort of stuff. But I think I probably got this from somebody else. I don't recall exactly, but I think somewhere along the line, someone mentioned that they were putting something, I think the library was the first place, of sliding something in a book, or that they found something in a book. They were reading and they opened it up, and here was this lovely little note from someone. And I just thought, gosh, that's the greatest idea. I need to start doing that. So it was just something I started doing. And then I got to thinking, well, wait a minute, there's places I could shove things, on the grocery aisles. I've not tried it in a department store, any of things like that, but, and I don't know. I mean, maybe it's the stockers, the people that are stocking the shelves are the ones that find them. But it doesn't matter. I just believe that whoever's supposed to find those little things will find them.
Yeah. And do you often, so we have like the notes and the encouragement that you leave. One of the things that I loved that you said in your video was that if you noticed a young mom who was juggling the kids and trying to do all the things, a note of encouragement on her windshield telling her that you thought she was doing a great job reminds me often of the people who will sometimes buy a meal for a family that they see, but so there's those kind of things. And then so to let you all know why, one of the reasons why Diane was the first person that came to mind about kindnesses is because she developed a pack that she carries in her car. And I don't even know, Diane, why we were talking about it, because it was like a side conversation where you said, oh yeah, I made this little pack. And I was like, you did what? And so tell me, first of all, what it is, what you do with it. And then I want to talk about what inspired you, to start creating these packages.
Well, we have a large homeless population here in Southern Nevada, especially in the Las Vegas area. And a friend of mine was doing some work in another city with the homeless, and she shared stories of these women that she was working with. It was one of my Brave Girl friends, and she was teaching some of the Brave Girl curriculum to these homeless women, and it just touched my heart, because these are really lovely women who never expected to ever become homeless. Their stories were just heartbreaking of just what happened in their life that caused them to end up being homeless. And they all talked about how invisible they felt, that people would, if people saw them, how they reacted to them. And it just broke my heart. And I thought, okay, I've got to find something that I can do just to let somebody know when they're sitting out there on a curb, that people aren't just going to be thinking, well, get a job, which you oftentimes hear people, make those kind of comments. And so I came up with nothing fancy, but I came up with just using a Ziploc bag, because I figured they don't have, what they're carrying things with. It's usually garbage bags and things that they're carrying and stuff. And I thought having a Ziploc bag would give them a place to maybe put some things that were a little bit more important, and hold on to it. So inside there, I have, I give
Can I
them
ask
a
you
pair of,
what size bag is it, Diane?
this is the quart size,
Okay.
bag.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, I do like the ones with the little zipper part better than the the squeeze ones. They just seem to be a little bit easier. So I someone, in fact, it was the gal, the Brave Girl gal that with the homeless people, socks are one of the most important things that they need, because they're out there, they're not always being able to bathe, their feet get sweaty, they get sores, and so having socks is important. So every time I go to Costco, I pick up one of these big packs of socks. Now, you could do the dollar store socks, but I like these because they're thick, they're warm, they're moisture wicking, and so that's what I end up doing. So I fold those up to fit. I have a little card that I created that on this front side, it just is a love note for you, and then I've got it's pretty small writing, but I have my husband's name in there and saying that I'm doing it in honor of him. And then on the back, it says, "You are loved." Because I'm figuring those people probably are not feeling very loved. And then another thing, at Valentine's Day at the dollar store, I always pick up a few packages of these little plastic hearts. And so I stick a heart in there with the socks. So they go together really fast. I put that in there. I usually put the "You Are Loved" so they see that. I put that in there. And what I also do is I stick a $5 bill in. Now, I know not everybody can afford to do that. I will tell you that 99% of the time, when I hand a bag like this to a homeless person, they look at it, and probably 75% of them, and mostly they're men, have started crying and said, "You gave me socks." It wasn't the $5 bill. It was the socks. That was the thing that was important to them. But then I also had a fellow tell me that he liked this plastic heart because he sucks on it and it helps to give him saliva in his mouth. I hadn't even thought about that, but you know how I am with hearts, so I had to include a heart in there. I have been blessed, but each time I give those out, I've not ever had somebody look at it and go, "Oh, gee, thanks." Sometimes I don't put money in it. Sometimes it's like whenever I have a $5 bill, I'll set it aside for my homeless packages. But if I don't have one, I'll still give out the package. And no one has ever said, "Oh, well, gee, thanks a lot." It's always the socks are one of the most important things. And when I had jury duty, our courthouse is right downtown. Lots of homeless sleeping along the side there. And so I would walk up. Some of them didn't wake up. I just kind of tucked it alongside of them. Some did wake up. And again, the reaction is just, it's pretty special.
So I know that especially when you're working with the homeless population, lots of times people are very concerned about what those interactions might look like. And especially you being a woman on your own, approaching people, what has your experience been? Have you felt safe? Have you felt unsafe? Like what's that been like for you?
I have always felt safe. I've not gone out into, I know some people here locally they'll go to the camps where they know the homeless people are camped out, in the drainage ditches and those kind of places. I've not done that. There again, just because I wasn't sure I would feel safe doing that. So mine are usually, the people that are standing on the corners with their signs. Those are the ones that I get most of the time. Or if I know I'm going to be downtown or in an area where I know that there's going to be homeless. Like even here, now that I'm living in small town Pahrump, I don't see as many homeless people, but there is a fella that I've seen at the grocery store, and I didn't have it. I wasn't driving my car, so I didn't have my packages with me, but we're going to the store here in the next couple of days, so he will get a package.
Well, and that's a great point, right? Because there are people in front of grocery stores, people on corners, like where you wouldn't necessarily have to get out and feel even like you were outside of your car necessarily. So,
right.
So you've said that you've had people gratefully accept your
Oh,
packages.
Yeah.
And I'm curious so I also wanted to just mention, Diane shared this with us at one of our Camp Widow events. And one of our other team members, Dana, was so inspired by what Diane had done that she did that. And Dana's an animal lover, so she also bags dog food. And so she'll have bags of dog food and the homeless packs in her car. And then if she sees a homeless person who also has a dog, she gifts them both a Ziploc bag of dog food and also the homeless pack. So I think I love that it can inspire people, and that's our hope about a kindness practice, right? Is that it reflects who you are. It reflects, the kind of, well, first of all, the kind of things you're comfortable with. Secondly, Diane's personalized hers with hearts because she loves hearts, and so Diane's pack's going to include hearts. Maybe you love butterflies or, mint chocolate chips, and those are the kind of things that you want to put in. But I feel like it gives you an opportunity to sort of develop your own experience of this as you go along. And so I wonder, are there any other kindnesses that you think are worth considering adapting? Do you have any other things that you might want to share?
Well, one other, we're not doing much traveling these days, but from my times of going to Camp Widow, when you stay at a hotel, you have the little tiny, the lotions and such. So, these were some bags I had left over from back when I was hosting women's retreats. And so I put some candy. There was a little cloth. It was a shoe cloth, but I thought, it's a cloth all wrapped up. That's going to be handy. Some another little thing from one of those calendars. And so I just have that on there. I had, with all my sparkle stuff, again, from the dollar store, I had some little, this. So for the holidays, they'll be getting, something like this along with their package. The other thing was for my anniversaries. I had mentioned that I did balloons and flowers at the hospital, but I also want another year. I just had these little key envelopes. And so I just had a few of those, and I just typed something up that I glued on the back, and it just said, this random act of kindness is given in honor of what would have been our 49th wedding anniversary. May you be blessed. And it's got one of the little heart things in there, and sometimes some money, and then one of those little cards attached to it. And then these were things that I would stick in the grocery store underneath, windshield wipers, because there again, it felt the anniversary, those can be hard days. And so this just felt like something that was going to make me, kind of take me away from all of that and make me feel good. And it's a really super easy thing to do.
And I'm glad you brought that up specifically, because for many of our community members who join us for Festival of Hope, they all have anniversaries and death anniversaries. So wedding anniversaries without the person we love, death anniversaries. This could apply to anyone. So any anniversary of anyone. So let's say, one of your parents died and it's their birthday and you want to honor them, how might you do that? So what was your experience, Diane, of turning your wedding anniversary into 49 random acts? Did you do them all on the same day? How did that happen?
But I started doing it at what would have been our 45th. That was 4 years after he died. And that one, the first two, I think I did all in one day. It felt important to me to just do it all in one day. And then it got harder. It got harder to do. So then it was like I created all of them and had them available in my car to just be able to use. So as you can see, since I have one of these left, that means I didn't get them all. I didn't get all 49. But when I found this, as I was going through some stuff, I went, okay, well, they're not going to know that, gee, last year was our 50th. Yeah. So no, they're not going to know that. So these are going to make it into, some people's hands too.
Well, what I love,
and I do keep, for keeping it in your car, I had a basket like this for a while, and then I also have this cool little, it's a happy bag, so you can just toss your little things and just keep them there and have them available for you whenever the opportunity presents itself.
Yeah, and I will tell you that I think I have one. Oh yes, I do. Our dear friend Kath McCormack. So. These are recycled glass hearts. They're really beautiful. And she will carry them around with her. She's rarely without one. And so pre-pandemic, she and I were at a restaurant, and we were talking to the person who was our server, and she somehow asked about what we do. We were talking about soaring spirits, and it turned out that it was going to be the anniversary of her boyfriend's death. And so, sure enough, I had one in my purse thanks to my cat. And but gifting her this and being able to just say, this is just a little reminder that love never dies. She was so overcome by the fact that we had this and that we gave it to her. And so I love your idea of having that bag, because it could be full of anything. It could be full of whatever small totem you want to give. It can be have homeless packs. It can have shampoos. It can have all of those different things. You have options when you come upon an opportunity to gift someone a kindness. I love it. I also was wondering, do you ever feel, I think sometimes if you're a more outgoing type of person, maybe approaching people or giving them something feels more natural. Did you have any times where you had to overcome any reticence to approach people, or do you always feel pretty confident about your reception?
I haven't, and in spite of all the things that I volunteered to do, I am a huge introvert, and so it's not always easy. I haven't done a whole lot of just really approaching people. Like I said, doing it anonymously, then it's safe. It's I don't have to. I'm not approaching them. I'm not interfering with their space, that sort of thing. And most of the time with the homeless folks that I've run into, they've been on the corner, and I'll just roll my window down and hold the bag outside the window so that they can see it, and then they'll just come on over to get it. So I haven't really had any issues with that.
Well, and it's a beautiful expression of the fact that you can do both things, which is, if you were, say, in a restaurant and wanted to buy lunch for someone, you could after the pandemic. And then if you are, but let's talk about that just briefly. We have a few minutes left, and I just want to note that, many people are struggling right now, and, door drop-offs of things, like the thing that started the whole kindness for you was sparkles on your doorstep. And so, the fact that you may know someone in your neighborhood or someone in your family who's struggling, where you could drop something on the doorstep that, was simple and easy and, not necessarily expensive. I think that we sometimes underestimate how, what a gift that can be to people, right?
Yes. Oh, most definitely. I did do a 12 days of Christmas at one point. It was, I didn't know at the time that I was doing it for the neighbor who was doing my sparkles. For those years, I didn't know. But my neighbor, she lost her husband a couple years before I did, and that year she also lost her 40-year-old daughter suddenly, and she was really struggling. And I had heard somebody talk about a 12 days of Christmas, and so it was an anonymous thing where I would just take it and hang something on her door, and it was great fun for me to be able to do that. I created little poems and baskets of stuff that matched each of the days, and so it was fun to kind of come up with some of those things. And at the end, she recognized that I slipped up and put something in there that I think was like Brave Girls, and she knew I had been part of Brave Girls, and so that's what gave me away. So she ended up coming over and saying, yes, I did, because I wasn't honest when she was sharing with me. Oh, somebody is doing this wonderful stuff, and I didn't own up to it at that point. But then at the very end, she did find out, but it was okay, because it's still, again, it made Christmas has been hard for me, even all these years later. And so it just made it a little bit easier, because I wasn't thinking about me and what I wasn't able to do. I was thinking about Nancy and what I could do for her.
Yeah, I love that. And with our holidays coming up and so many people's life being altered by the pandemic in ways large and small. Being able to get outside ourselves a little and offer an act of kindness to someone else on a hard day for us is such a significant way, like you said, of getting out of the pain that our own pain, and being able to,
Mhm.
gift something to someone else. I think it's a beautiful message and a perfect time of year for it. So I thank you so much for being willing to share your kindness practice with us. Is there any other thing you want to wrap up with before we go? And also, as you all know, I forgot to say it in the beginning, but the chat bar is there. So you have questions or you wanted to ask anything of Diane before we head out, please feel free to put it in the chat.
I think if you decide that this is something you want to do, just keep your mind open to things that you might see along the way. Like I said, I'm not spending a fortune on this. These are things that I'll just find, and then I've got my box that I just toss these things into. Just say, okay, I'll end up using these more along the line. That they'll come in handy, or I'll also go online. There's all sorts of things that I'll end up finding somebody, there's a graphic or of some sort, and I'll just print that out and cut them up. And so like this, just enjoy today. It's just a little thing that I'll just have handy, and being able to just, pop it wherever it needs to go. So just kind of keep your mind open to all of those little things that might just, might be in your life each day that you go, oh, wait a minute, that's something I could put into my kindness box and have that available for whenever it needs to land in somebody else's lap.
Well, what I love is just that if we were to all create a kindness box, and whatever happens to go in there, like in our experience, when I met that server, it was because I had it. So if you have it in your car and you have it available, then when opportunity knocks and you feel like, oh, I wish I had something, oh, I do. I have a box of things that I could choose from to be able to offer in this situation. So what a beautiful, everyone is inspired and grateful. And I agree, Ginger, simple, easy, inexpensive, focus on someone else, be able to kind of get outside not only of ourselves, but also I think that we create the environment of the world that we live in. And if we participate in creating that kind world, then somehow that kindness is out there swirling about. And I really think it comes back to us in ways large and small. So what an opportunity I love that we got the chance to talk about kindness, Diane. Truly, you're one of the kindest people I know, and I'm grateful to know you. So thank you so much for sharing your kindness with all of us. Everyone, remember that we have, first of all, Camp Widow, for any of you who are widowed or know someone who's widowed, Camp Widow starts tomorrow. So if you're interested, we still have plenty of room. Come on down. And secondly, we are still going to do our live entertainment. So there will be, and wait till you have our singer for tomorrow. Jenny, you want to do a really quick shout out for her?
Sure. Yeah. So one of my dear friends, and she's actually my sister-in-law's best friend, Natalie Young, who I believe some people may actually know on this call. She's a cantor for her Jewish community and her synagogue, and she just has the most beautiful, inspiring, crystal clear voice. And she's sharing a very special song with us tomorrow that she just wrote, and it's called Be the Light. So we will be live tomorrow at 4:30 on the Soaring Spirits Facebook page. And then this will be recorded, as everything in the Festival of Hope is, so that you can catch up on it if you're not able to join us live. But it's going to be very special, and we're really excited about it.
So the Festival of Hope is going to continue on at the same time as Camp Widow, because we like to juggle lots of things around here at Soaring Spirits. But anyways, all of you, thank you so much. I will remind you to choose kind. We have that opportunity every day, and the kindness practice is such a beautiful and really inspiring. My kindness practice game is going to be upped. I'm excited about it. Thanks so much, Diane. All right, everyone, be well, take good care of yourselves. I hope to see you all tomorrow for our live entertainment, and then we're going on next week, more Festival of Hope. All right, good night, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.